Hey everybody, this is your one and only Goosebumps enthusiast, back with another Goosebumps video, and today we have a crazy video, and that is going to be ranking the original 62 from worst to best. It's going to be insane. As always, check out Goose Junkies, part of that podcast, on Goosebumps Completionist channel. You can also check his channel out, which is also awesome. Posts a lot of great videos. Without further ado, let's get straight into this thing. We got a lot of books to rank, and I'm hoping to only spend about 1 minute on each book. So, as soon as this clock here that I have running a stopwatch hits 1 minute, we're going to start rolling on this bitch. So, let's do this. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Starting off at number 62, we have what is, in my opinion, the absolute worst Goosebumps book that has ever been released as of what I've seen now, as of what I've read now, and that is The Barking Ghost. This is a pile of donkey doo-doo diarrhea. This thing can go screw itself, honestly. I didn't have any enjoyment reading this. It's boring, nothing happens, it's misleading. Oh my god, it lays on a fucking throne of lies. I hate this. This is one of the worst Goosebumps stories, one of the worst stories I've ever read in general, and add on top of it one of the worst twists in all of Goosebumps, landing right at the bottom at number 62. At number 61, we have Monster Blood 4. One of the last reads I had for this series was also one of the worst. This thing was awful. The characters are insufferable. Kermit from Monster Blood 3 strikes back. You have Conan, as always, who's just terrible. Andy continues to be one of the worst characters in Goosebumps history, and Evan sucks. Probably the worst he ever did, actually. Now, luckily for most people, they have to pay up pretty high for this book. Well, I didn't, so at least I feel a little bit better about that. I only had to pay about $1, not to flex or anything, but at least it doesn't make me as mad. You know, there's a couple books on this list I had to pay up for that were pretty expensive. This I did not, so at least there's that. Terrible, though. Absolutely terrible. On the same level as Barking Ghost. They're tied, almost. And coming in at number 60, we have Monster Blood 3. Yep. I know. How can there be two Monster Blood books back to back? Well, this is almost as bad. I'm not even kidding. This, surprisingly, if I had to read Monster Blood 4 3, I'd probably say part 4, surprisingly, but this is still better. At least this has moments that are kind of interesting. And I'm not going to lie, it's not boring, it's just awful. Once again, characters suck. I cannot stand most of the plot points in this entire story. And overall, it just doesn't even feel like Stein wrote this one. Like, out of all the Monster Blood books, it is probably the least Stein feeling. The cover's even kind of mid. For Monster Blood, which has great covers, this sucks. And I'm sorry, Tim, I love you, but I'm sure Scholastic gave you something to work with that you didn't care for, but here we have, be careful what you wish for. Now, do I think this book is overhated? Yes. I don't think this is as terrible as some people say. It's just kind of on that mid-level. From here on out, books are kind of in that mid-range. They will have a lot of frequencies that just don't make me want to come back to it ever again, but also I don't think we're despisingly god-awful, super expedaliously terrible books that just should never be experienced. These are just more of like, you can read them if you'd like, in my opinion. I wouldn't recommend them per se, but, I respect them and what they're trying to be. In this book, I think the biggest issue is just that it's a little bit slow. It's pretty boring at parts. Not a massive fan. I'm already losing track. I think this is number 58 on the list. The Curse of Camp Cold Lake. And, folks, this was the latest read that I just got done with right before this recording. For the original 62, I'd saved this one for a while, because for one, I didn't own it, plus two, I really liked that cover. I kind of wanted to end on this one. And it was pretty dang mid. I cannot tell you how boring and just predictable this book was. I hated the characters. Probably some of the worst in all of Goosebumps. At least with Monster Blood 3, you kind of have, like, okay characters, and then also Kermit, which sucks, or, Cuckoo Clock. I'm not going to get into that, but in this, the entire cast of characters is terrible. Tim Jacobus, your cover, does this book way too much justice than what it deserves. I am telling you, I don't know what Stein was on, but this sucks. And for the next book, at number 57, we have You Can't Scare Me. Wow. For how awesome that covers, and just kind of one of the creepier ones, in my opinion, this book is boring, dude. This is one of the most boring, if not the most boring books in all of Goosebumps history. Made a review on this if you want to check that out. This was not a good one. I cannot recommend this for crap. The fact that this is above Cold Lake kind of surprises me, but I just feel like I'd rather read this than Cold Lake. I don't know why. But basically, until the last 20 pages, this thing is not good. So, yeah. Boring, pretty mid, not a fan. Oh boy, this next one is interesting. So at number 56 here, we have The Legend of the Lost Legend. And folks, this is one of the just worst written books I have ever read in my entire life. Now, first of all, this doesn't even feel like Stein. This one I'm almost sure of was ghost written. I'm not too confident on that, but I think completionists can kind of back me up on this one, that everything is just so messy and the book tries to do more than it can for its own good. It bit off more than it could chew, and it's very easy to see. Random crap just kind of happens, and you're just supposed to act like it's normal. Not a good one at all, and I especially do not recommend it. My God, was this a bad read. The only reason it's above the others is just, once again, because these are kind of around the same level. I couldn't flip-flop them at any kind of chance I get, I guess. But boy, was this bad. I'm not going to count from now on. I'm sorry, guys. But here is My Best Friend is Invisible. This one's really rough. Well, first of all, let me just tell you that this is surprisingly worse than the episode, and the episode is terrible. So if that is an expectation bar, well, there you go. I hated this book. The characters are just annoying. It's not even a spoiler, man. Just look at the cover. The Invisible Boy, one of the worst Goosebumps antagonists ever. Oh my God, it's bad. Not to mention some of the worst twists in Goosebumps, like always. Terrible family characters. Highly do not recommend that one. The next one is Phantom of the Auditorium. Now, we actually talked about this on the Goose Junkies podcast not long ago. And my God, is this book boring! Oh, man. That's one of the biggest issues with some of these OG62 books near the bottom here. They don't do anything. This one is very slow-paced. Characters I actually hate. I cannot stand, any of them, if I'm being honest. Theater kids, I'm sorry. Some people who I actually know are in theater. Heck, I have interest in theater, so there you go. But theater kids are quite annoying, most of them, and they're very prevalent here. Very common to see. I did not like this book whatsoever, and for such a solid run in the first 20 books or so, this is when stuff kind of started getting kind of crazy and just out of hand. So, another book kind of around that era is the next one on the list. It Came from Beneath the Sink. Now, I actually have to be careful here because someone smeared a booger on this, and I don't know where I got this, but that's pretty disgusting. It's really green and just kind of everywhere. Anyways, I hate this book. I think that the monster is stupid. This has the same threat level as an old man handing me his ass crumbs and saying they will curse me for the rest of my life. Just saying, this has no effect on me. Threat level 0. I don't care. The Gruel's extremely easy to defeat, ruining any reread of this story. Not a fan. Don't recommend this one. How to Kill a Monster. Yeah, I know, blasphemy. I cannot remember shit from this book. Sorry if I'm cussing a lot. This was one of the roughest reads in this entire 62 series, because here's the thing. With most of these books, I feel like I read them pretty fast. I just hated them. This took me, I think, almost 2 weeks to complete back in like September, and this was a bad one, dude. I don't know what people are on when they say this is like a fantastic book. You know, give it a reread, man. This is not that good. It has cool atmosphere, I will say, but the characters, monster, pretty bad, actually. The way you kill him, once again, ruins any rereads. Another thing that you'll see pretty common in these, in this bottom half of my list is just that the monsters aren't good enough. And yeah, this shows here. Can't ramble on too much about this, but this is one that I have a lot to say about, so stay tuned for a review at one point. Next book is one that actually started out decently strong, but later got pretty bad, and that is The Blob That Ate Everyone. Now, I know people love this book. Alright, this has gotten reprinted more times than I have fingers, but why? I don't get it. I get that it's trying to kind of copy off of the original The Blob from like the 60s or whatever that was from, but y'all, this thing is mid, and I like the setup. Once again, I like the setup. Everything else, and if I'm being honest, man, I read this one pretty dang fast, but like it felt like a drag. I was trying to like rush through this one, and it felt like I was carrying 1,000 pounds on my ass. That's how slow this one felt at times. Not saying it was slow paced or boring, but this one might have to be a little bit short since we're running time here, but let's get Invisible. This is when books kind of get into that, like, I'm not gonna say mid, but like kind of like okay-ish territory, but like has good elements. I think, yeah, from here on out. And this is one that I had a lot of fun with at times, but man, from the first 10 books, basically the most solid run in the entire OG62, this is like the one book in there where I'm like, what the heck was... what were they thinking? And I actually really liked the episode for this one, so I feel like this might just play out better on cinema than it can in text. I don't know, but overall, would I recommend it? Why not? You know, it's not one of those ones where I'm just like, I hate this, but it's just really okay. And the next book is a very controversial opinion. You'll probably be questioning why the heck this is above so many others, but we have Say Cheese and Die Again. I'm not going to ramble on about this one, but this is one that I feel like is just so bad that it's good. I don't... That's all I can really say. I don't even have that opinion on many books or movies, anything. But, man, was this just low-level, low-brow terribleness. That it was just, once again, so bad that I actually kind of got into it at points. And it's really a fast read. So don't get too pushed up about, like, it's gonna be Boeing. No, I finished this in an hour. Like, that's not long at all, guys. You can handle that. So, yeah. Okay, this actually scares me. I don't want to go off topic, but It looks like my ghost beach got a really big crease, so I'm gonna have to see if I, can find a new one. It's not that bad, but I don't like that. Anyways, Ghost Beach. One of the most forgettable books in the entire OG62. According to my list, which I've just been doing over all this time of reading these since like July of last year, this is one of the ones where I kind of like it, but it's like, it's just so hard to remember that it loses points for me, man. And I like the story and everything. And I actually read this one right by water on this little reading spot that I have down at my marina where I keep my boat. Pretty fun to read in that atmosphere, especially when it's kind of at dusk. Not dusk, but like later in the evening. In the summer too, so you don't have like pitch black surrounding. But yeah, it's decent. It's decent. I actually might have switched these at some point. I don't know how this is above the last one. But here is Shocker on Shock Street. This is, once again, just a mid-book. I gotta say, man, what is the hype about this one? This was in the Goosebumps movie. This is in tons of people's, like, top 10s. I'm like, dude, what? This thing sucks. I mean, like, I say it's okay because there's parts of it that I'm like, okay, I can kind of, like, connect with this, Like, I love the horror movie references and stuff, but, dude, this book is just... I don't know what they were trying to go for here, but none of it works for me. I don't know if that's just me, man. It might be. But I can't recommend this, honestly. I don't know why this is... I feel like I might have, like, put this higher than I wanted, but it's fine. It works. And then here is one of my more controversial opinions again. And that is, just another mid-book. I don't like this story, and that's The Horror at Camp Jelly Jam. Now, guys, I'm a fat son of a gun. I should not be talking, but I also don't really like playing sports. And this book tries to put you in the mind of playing sports constantly. So that might drop the score a little. But even with this story that just kind of goes on and on, I wasn't a fan, man. It took me forever to read this one, and I was so hyped because for some people, this is one of their favorites. For one person, I think that is their favorite. I can't remember who, but dude, it's insane how loved this book is. Overrated as hell. And the next book is another mid-book. And then from here on out, after this one, we'll kind of get into the decent ones. And that is Monster Blood 2. Not a fan. I like Cuddles. I actually had a conversation on Discord earlier about this, but I feel like Cuddles is just kind of like a nice monster to have in a book. Wish he was utilized more, except in the first, like, half, he's just kind of there doing random crap and being annoying, so, like, I kind of also have to say Cuddles isn't that great after all. I like him, probably the best part of the book, honestly. The rest of the characters suck. Probably the worst. Probably some of the worst, changes in characters over Goosebumps sequels, I'd say. So, yeah. Overall, mid. I couldn't get into this one too much. I read it decently fast. I just don't like it, though. Like, I feel like, once again, this is another cover of Tim's that kind of does the book more justice than it deserves. And I guess that kind of leads into this book, the next on the list. And that is The Abominable Snowman of Pasadena. Now, this is also kind of a rough one. Although I still think this one is way better in terms of almost everything than the last however many that was. And that is because the first 80 pages or so are awesome. I love the setup. I love everything. And I feel like Stein wanted to kind of have this book take place in that snowy region for almost the entire book. But then he was like, I don't know what to do anymore. It felt like he did everything by page 80. The book almost could have ended, but he added a little twist. The characters go back to Pasadena. And I know I'm running overtime on this one. I don't really care. And they kind of just, decide, oh, how about we bring the abominable snowman back to life? And then these magic snowballs start kind of appearing, and then the entire story is just thrown out the window. Without that last 30 pages, man, this would be a solid freaking book. Hard to forgive, honestly. And the next one I don't have much to say about because I barely remember it, but that's great because we're running way over time. And that is The Headless Ghost. I don't have anything to say about this book besides the fact that I just cannot remember it for basically anything. Not a fan, although I do like the concept of Andrew Craw. We barely actually get to see the real one until way later in the book. The fake outs are insufferable. Not a fan. Next up is probably the last, I guess, decent book on here, but it's still not good by any means, and that is Don't Go to Sleep. This was a painful read, but I can see what they were kind of going for here. Now, I say they because Stein, there was no way this man wrote this one, alright? Now, Completionist told me while I was reading this one that he doesn't think Stein wrote it, and then from then on out, I went, oh my god, it actually does not feel like Stein at all. So, there you go. I think it's ghost written. You can ask Completionist more about that on his opinions, but this book is super mid. Oh my god, the concept is alright, but dude, for how much hype I feel like this one gets for no reason, really, and the great cover, too, it's not that good. Next up is Revenge of the Lawn Gnomes. Now, I don't really see the hate for this one, and shout out to this book, actually, because it takes place in Minnesota, where your boy lives. But, was it good? Hard to say. Now, I feel like from here on out, I can actually decently enjoy these ones. I'll come back to them. But, yeah, this is the first one where I feel like if I had to come back to this, I wouldn't be complaining at all. And I like the lawn gnomes for the most part, though the episode kind of utilizes them a lot better, in my opinion. So, if I'm being honest, can I say it's that good? No. When you see the episode doing a book better, it's kind of a bad sign at times. Not always, but at times. And this is a pretty good case of that, honestly. It's pretty good. I don't have many issues with it, but it's just not one that I love very much. And the next one on this list is probably going to shock a lot of people because they hate this book. But man, did I think it was pretty fun. And that is Chicken Chicken. Why people hate this so damn much, I have no clue. I thought that this was a solid read. I thought that what little problems it did have did not affect the story very much. And from here on out, from what I can tell, these are all books that I like. So I would come back to these without ease. And man, was this just a fun book. I was dreading this one for a while, although I was kind of curious to see, is it really that bad? I was reading through this thing like a freaking, whatever those things are called that are fast. Cheetahs? I don't know, I'm stupid. I was reading through this so fast that the freaking wind was blowing the pages out of my hand. So, that's a sign that it's a good book. I also really like the plot. It's pretty funny, and the humor and even the gross out horror works really well. I don't know how, but it does. So, yeah. And then here we are at Monster Blood. Don't have much to say about this because it has been talked about so much over the years, but I will say that I do like the story a lot. Like a lot, actually. Although, once again, I feel like it's just one of those ones where the episode kind of does it better. And that's not a bad thing at all. But, yeah. Don't have much to say on this besides, I like it. And it's definitely the best Monster Blood book in the original 64. Not even a doubt in my mind. From here on out, I'm gonna say like 8 out of 10s and on. So, yeah. Really quick, I'm just gonna grab some of these, move them. So it's getting quite a bit of room. Sorry, guys. Okay. I think we're good now. The next book is My Hairiest Adventure. Wow, do I not understand the hate for this. Now, I'll admit, I kind of love this one, not ironically, but kind of ironically, because this thing is just... it's the most batshit crazy book in the entire original series, man. I don't know why people hate this so much. It's just insane, some of the stuff that happens in here. And it even has dark moments. For a book that feels so silly, this has like some pretty creepy stuff. I really like the concept, though there's a few parts that are a little bit slower for me. Really like it. I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna move this down just a minute. Ugh. Next book is, gonna shock some people, but, Night of the Living Dummy 1. Now, don't click off the video. Let me explain. I hate the characters. I don't know what it is. It's just kind of me. Haven't met anyone else that kind of hates them. I hate these characters. Chris and Lindy. I will remember their names. I don't remember a lot of Goosebumps character names, but I will remember theirs because they are just so bad. I don't know what it is, but they're super annoying. They just never stop whining and kind of bickering. As for Mr. Wood, he's alright. I would say Slappy's a lot better. Even though you'll probably see another dummy book pretty close to this one in a minute. Still think that he is quite a bit better than Mr. Wood. And honestly, the story isn't that great. I think it's alright, but it doesn't impress me. So yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry. I know people are going to get offended. But the next book we have here is Calling All Creeps. And rough one at the start. I will admit, I do not like the first 40 pages of this one. Like, the first third, not great. It's basically just a kid being bullied, and I don't like that, man. But once the plot kind of gets rolling, it picks up very fast, and I actually, like you can see where its placement on the list is, I actually really decently liked this one. But yeah. Yeah, this is Goey Worms. I'm sorry. I had to do it. I really like this book. I don't love it, but I actually have a lot of fun with it. Probably like an 8 out of 10. A lot of these kind of are in that range. Todd is not a fun character to be with throughout the whole book, but a lot of times I think it's kind of nice to have a switch up between always this like really likable character and just having this terrible jerk for once. Kind of like that. The variety is nice. As for the the gross out horror, I really like it. No complaints there. It's not very boring, though it's a bit slower paced in some areas. And yeah, I don't know. The last 20 pages are awesome, though. I really like them. For the rest of the book, still good, but not as good. Next up is How I Learned to Fly. This is an interesting one. Alright, this is not a Goosebumps book in any means. This is a romanticized child fantasy almost. It's weird. Now, do I like it though? Heck yeah, I think the story is awesome, but it just it's so random at times, but I still really like it, and I really like the characters in this one. Jack, Mia, even the villain Wilson can get kind of annoying, but I like him at times. And it's kind of nice seeing something like this. Might even review this for Valentine's Day coming up. I don't know. But it's an interesting one. Check it out if you haven't already. And yeah, here we go. Controversial. I don't care. Most people have this in their top 10, 20. But Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns, it's not that great. I think it's pretty good, but my god is this thing hyped up. I actually really remember liking this one a lot when I was really little. 4th, 5th grade kind of area. And did it live up? No. if I'm being honest, this is easily one of the most juvenile Goosebumps books. And I also don't love the villains. I think the episode does this 10 times better. So if you're looking for Attack of the Jack-o'-lanterns to just kind of quickly experience the story, it's pretty accurate too. Just watch the episode. And next up is Night of the Living Dummy 3. Once again, just pretty good-ish. I don't think there's much bad with this one, besides one big issue, which I'll just address here. And that is the fact that, the first 70 pages were all done by Zane. Wow, is that bad writing. More than the first half, from what I remember, is literally a fake out. None of that mattered to the plot whatsoever. That's terrible writing. I don't care, that's some of the worst in all of Goosebumps. Then, from then on out, you also learn that these dummies aren't actually all alive. It's just Slappy. And, man, I just don't have any apologies for this one. The only reason I like it is because I do actually enjoy the characters for what they are. And the plot isn't bad. It's just, it takes a really long time to get rolling when you thought it already was at the very beginning. So yeah, not great. From here on out, these books I actually would say are pretty dang good. I think that from here on out, they got it right. Here is The Curse of the Mummy's Tomb. No complaints on this one. And actually probably not for the rest of the entire series here. So, Curse of the Mummy's Tomb has some interesting characters. Gabe and Sheena, from what I remember. Sarah. Sorry. Her name is Sorry. Thinking of Sheena from freaking Deep Trouble. They are both pretty decent in this book, but I think get a lot better in the sequel. This book is still pretty good, though, and I like the real-life horror elements. And honestly, it's kind of nice not seeing tons of action. I like a slower-paced book once in a while. This does it just right for me in terms of pacing. And the next book is Vampire Breath. Here you go. Vampire Breath. This was not one of the last books I read, but it was pretty close towards that area, and I had a lot of fun with this one. It's kind of a bizarre concept, but it gets rolling fast, and I really like the plot. Although I think that it gets a lot, I think it's a lot better when you're actually in the basement. Once you're in the castle, it gets a little bit weird, but I really like it nonetheless, and the little girl in this is menacing, dude. Talk about an underrated villain. Next up is my favorite dummy book as of now. And I still don't think it's that amazing, but I would say that it's pretty dang good, and that's Night of the Living Dummy 2. I don't think this really has many issues with it, surprisingly. Though I will say that there's just things in this book that randomly turn me off from it, and I can't really pinpoint it since this is actually one of the first ones I read. But, I feel like Slappy, if we can all agree, because I don't have much to say on this once again, is just one of the most overrated characters in all of Goosebumps. I know he's right here. He might kill me tonight. I don't know. Sorry. But, dude, he is so overrated. Most of his books are just kind of okay, good-ish. This one I feel like kind of hits the mark finally, but I feel like this is the only reason Slappy is popular. To be honest, though, it is his debut. Kind of question that in the comments if you want. But, yeah. It's fine. I like it a lot, honestly. Easily the best. Next up, Beast from the East. Now, a lot of people have this as a perfect score, and I don't know what the fuck you are smoking. This is, in terms of likability, I think this is an accurate representation, but if we're going off of story here, this is like an F in terms of story writing, man. This is not a good story. I like it, though, because it's very entertaining. It's very fast-paced. I like the characters. I like the monsters. But it's just so goofy and random. I don't know, man. It's kind of like Legend of the Lost Legend, but they actually kind of did it right-ish. In a way, actually. It actually is pretty similar at times. But, yeah. I say it's great? No. Not at all. But, yeah, here's one that most people will probably get mad that it's not even in my top 5. But, I'm sorry, don't click off the video. Werewolf of Fever Swamp. This book, if I'm being honest, man, I like it a lot, but is it that good? I don't know. Kind of hard to say. I really enjoy it. I think the episode actually might be better. I'm not sure. This book, though, is very solid. I liked it a lot. And if you're reading this in that, like, summertime-esque atmosphere of, like, kind of like mid-June, this is a perfect book for, like, mid-June. That's just, like, a random intrusive thought of mine. So, yeah. Highly recommend this one, though. Really good. Don't be mad where it's placed. All of these books are pretty good from, like, then on out. So, Bad Hair Day. Really like this one. Not much to say besides I think this is extremely overhated. I do not get at all what people are trying to say when they say, this is terrible, this is, oh my god. Some people act like this is the worst thing they have ever read, and I don't get it. Some people say it's top 5 worst. Guys, okay, if we're being honest here, there's nothing wrong with this book. It might not be very Goosebumpsy, but I feel like a lot of people really like How I Learned to Fly, and that's not Goosebumps at all. So, give this one a little respect, alright? This is definitely second least Goosebumps feeling book, right after How I Learned to Fly, but yeah. Really enjoy this one. Hopefully I'll get to making a review on that one day. I don't know. Next up is another kind of wild one, but I really enjoyed it, and people like Grayson the Goosebumps Kid, and I think it was Michael recommended me this one, and that is Why I'm Afraid of Bees. Now, this one was one I was not looking forward to, but I actually had a lot of fun with. Villain is awesome. The story is fantastic. I love it. Everything is basically great here. I don't have much to say. Piano Lessons Can Be Murder. Love it, love it, love it, love it. God, this one's good. I think from here on out, these are, like, pretty dang good. Like, I know I keep kind of saying that, but, like, this is, like, when things start to really elevate. Really, really good stories that I love. 9.5 out of 10 and higher. And start this one off with a bang, and let's just say that this is one of the best Goosebumps books ever written. Really like it. Don't have much to say because I don't want to give much away, but man, if we could get more Goosebumps books like this in the modern day, I would probably read them more. I'm not even kidding, man. This is fantastic. Next up, we have One Day at Horrorland. I always get them confused with Welcome. One Day at Horrorland. In my opinion, the most overrated book. I'm not going to go into why I like this one a lot, because it's the same reasons everyone does, but this has a sequel in Series 2000. It has a sequel video game. It has a board game. The horror got made into a massive mascot, which I have tons of merch of, and I don't even have that much merch, so it really shows how popular he is. They've gotten an entire series, another spin-off series, and I could go on. This thing, alright, I like it a lot. Overrated. How was this the Goosebumps book that just made everyone snap? I could never tell you. So, yeah. Well, oh yeah, this one's a good one. Werewolf Skin. Woo! I love this book. Now, I think that this one is really cool. I will be honest, I think that it's a little tiny bit overhyped, with that last act kind of being good, but not as great as the rest of the book. But I love the atmosphere in this one. Character's great. Family character is surprisingly awesome. You never see that in Goosebumps, but here you go, I guess. The concept I really like. Not much to say. It's kind of like the Haunted Mask in a way, but I didn't even go as far to say, I don't want to say this because I feel like it'll offend a lot of people, but it's almost more creative. I'm not sure. They're both very creative, but this one, definitely creative. I really like it. So, yeah. And here we are at Beware the Snowman. This one was very fun to read. I really liked it. Flew through this one, by the way. Villain story, amazing, actually. I really like it. The actual villain, sorry if I revealed that for anybody, is even better. And I really like everything. You never know what's going to happen next. It's one of those books. So, really like it. Next book, The Haunted School. This is one that was very dark. And I really like a dark story once in a while. Now, do I think this one's a little overhyped at times? Yes, but also no. I really like Stein's writing here. The entire concept is awesome. The story and plot roll out really fine, like a red carpet on Hollywood Boulevard. This thing, I highly recommend it. I'm really happy to have this in really good shape, too. Next up is Return of the Mummy. Wow, is this a good book. Talk about an improvement, too, sequel-wise. I can't even tell you how much better this one is compared to the first one. And the first one was pretty good, so it really shows that, I think from here on out, these are all 10 out of 10s, easily. So, for this one, really like everything going on here. There's basically no issues in my mind. Although people might say that it's kind of one of those easy Goosebumps books, I also feel like it's just a good one. I feel like that's why it's easy. The characters very, very heavily develop here. A lot better in the second book than they are in the first. Love the villain. Love the mummies, too. And I also love some side villains. This has a lot of villains, man. A lot of antagonist characters, so really like it. I think this might even be a first printing. Yep. I'm sorry. Next one. Oh my god, this one's fantastic. Cuckoo Clock of Doom. This is one of the best books I have ever read. Now, I'd actually say it's higher than some of these coming up, but I feel like some of these other ones have better moments and just like a few worse parts. This one is nearly perfect, but it's just some things make me like it a little bit less. The repetitiveness, although it works in a situation like this, also kind of gets a little annoying. Plus, I don't like the sister at all. She is super annoying. What's her name? Tara. Oh my god. Not a fan. I do not like her at all. Next one is Stay Out of the Basement. Try to like reenact that hand right there. Sorry. That's cringe. Anyways, this book is pretty dang good. Don't have much to say besides Dr. Brewer's awesome and the character's pretty great. Enough said. People talk about this one a lot. Sorry if we're moving kind of quick here. I'm trying to get this done. A Night in Terror Tower. Once again, really great story. Really great book. I think everything works here until the kids kind of turn into like king and queen, if I remember correctly. Then it kind of falls apart, in my opinion. But everything else is beyond perfect. One of the best books, but sadly, that one part kind of weighs it down. So, yeah. And the next book is Welcome to Dead House. Hey y'all, welcome to Dead House. Okay, I'm sorry. This one is pretty damn good. And I don't have anything to say besides that it's dark, the characters are pretty good. I like the entire plot of this town kind of being, spoiler alert, murdered by, poison and stuff like that. And I also like the zombie slash ghoul side of things. I think everything works great here. I don't know if I'm bluffing. I've seen the episode right here more recently than I've read this book. This was the first one I read, actually. Quite a while ago now. So, might be bluffing. I don't know. Sorry if I am. Next book, Ghost Next Door. Really like this one. Sadly, the cover kind of fucked up. But I really like it. Love the characters. Twist is great, although it's kind of obvious at points, and it's probably just because of the Goosebumps movie, honestly. This book played a heavy part in the movie. I feel like it kind of gives away some people, but for me, I have to judge it on its own merit, and I really like it. So, yeah. Next up. Sorry, excuse me. I Live in Your Basement. Wow. Talk about a rare book. Probably the rarest in the original 62. And for good reason, man. This is one of those books where I'm happy that it's kind of rare in a way. In a way. Sorry. Because it is so good that it's kind of deserving of being rare. I feel like some of these books are so bad that are rare. And then you got this one that's just fantastic. Really like this one. Got it for a decent price online. The mind-twisting stuff is crazy. The horror reality. The very great body horror in this is terrifying. Love the story. Love everything here, honestly. This is fantastic. Really like that one. The next one I'm going to talk about is Egg Monsters from Mars, right here. Oh, man. I really, really like this book. Now, there's a few parts that people commonly hate, and I think one that is very valid is the ending. Though, if I was judging these books off of the endings, man, almost all of them would be C tier. So, without talking too much about the ending, I will say that this one is a fire book. Really like the monsters, really like the concept, really like the villain. As for these twist villains, man, some of the best in Goosebumps. Now, we've got How I Got My Shrunken Head. People hate this one, and you know what? I don't care. I really like the adventure elements. I really like everything here. Very solid. I don't have many complaints. I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I like it, is because it's just, what's to complain about? Nothing. I really like it. Fast-paced, very entertaining. I love the characters. They're very creative. The storyline is very creative. Stein's writing, I think, is almost at an all-time high here. So, yeah. Really like this one. Next up, Ghost Camp. Ghost Camp. Fantastic book. Don't have much to say on this one, sadly. Again, it's kind of how I feel with most of these very good books. But, dude, this has a very predictable twist, sadly, because of just the name and the cover and everything. But everything just works here. Best camp book in the original 62, besides one that's coming up later. And they're honestly almost tied. I feel like a lot of these books, although some of them are obviously better than others, there's a reason why it's above this one. I feel like I could read all of these any day. So yeah. Really like the characters in this one. Nothing's bad here. Atmosphere is awesome. I hope I'll reread this probably next summer. really, really like this. I just don't have much to say, man. It's amazing. I really like that book. Next up is The Girl Who Cried Monster. Now, you're probably asking, man, why do you like this one so much? Well, it's because this is one of the most flawless Goosebumps stories in existence. The fact that this hasn't been reprinted since 2003 makes me just freaking wonder, man. I don't know what Scholastic has against this book, but this is just one that baffles me, that it's not very popular. Now, a lot of 90s kids will remember this one, but the modern day barely knows about it. And it's so sad. This is one of the best Goosebumps stories, and it's even better in the episode. That makeup man is fantastic. Love Mr. Mortman. Great character, great body horror, everything. Everything works. Next up, I'm gonna move these books right here. Next up, we've got Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Oh man, this is a really good one. Atmosphere, freaking fantastic. Villains, very cool. I really like most of the characters here. I'm trying to think of some of their names. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not sure, but a lot of them are really good. I think the only one I didn't like is like the little brother, I think it was. One of the characters is kind of annoying, but I really like this book. Nothing's bad about it at all. And from here on out, I legitimately call these perfect stories. I don't think there's a single bad problem with them. There's no problems in general. They are all fan-frickin-tastic. And, yeah, sorry if I'm not giving too much explanation. These ones, I will give explanations, trust me. Okay. Next up, Haunted Mask 2. Now, for a while, I kind of almost considered this being my favorite Goosebumps book in the original 62. But the more I kind of thought about it, it kind of moved downwards a little bit, but I really like it still. Fantastic. The atmosphere is the best in all of Goosebumps, in my opinion. The old man mask takes what the original Haunted Mask did and basically just elevates it. I think that it's way creepier. I think that everything is just fantastic here. And reading these back to back is like essential now. If I ever, every single Halloween, I will read these two books again and again and again. Fantastic. And speaking of the Haunted Mask, we might as well just talk about the Haunted Mask. And, oh man, beautiful book. Honestly, although it's not my favorite, I will say this time and time again, this is the best Goosebumps book. There. That's all I've got to say. Carly Beth is one of the best characters in all of history. I really like her character. The mask concept is fantastic. Stein actually based off of a real personal experience too, which is really cool. And I also think that this book just has nothing wrong with it. Once again, it's a perfect story. Utterly just great and iconic. 10 out of 10. Next up, we're moving into the top 5. So here's what I consider the best of the best. Next up, for number 5, we got Attack of the Mutant. Wow. Wow. Was this a good book? I am a comic book hater, actually. I'm sorry to all of y'all who love comic books and comics in general, but, dude, I don't like any superheroes, anything like that. And I thought it was just fantastic, man. There was nothing bad about this book. And I really like the characters. With Skipper, you got whatever the girl's name is pretty cool. I like the twist there, too. The mutant is awesome. Ugh! It's so sad that this book never got a sequel. Luckily, it did get a game, but kind of have to find that on YouTube for footage. But, dude, Highly recommend this one. Generally no flaws, and if I can love it, anyone can love it. Next up, we've got Say Cheese and Die. Now, stereotypical, I don't care. Haunted Mask is stereotypical. Sorry. This is a fantastic story. For it being actually decently long from what I remember. Yeah, it's pretty long. This wastes no pages. I really liked this book all the way through. Characters are just fantastic, as always, man. And, you know what's really cool? I actually have a receipt in this book that I found at a thrift store or something. And, I'm not going to show the location because it's actually where I live, but this is a Barnes & Noble ticket, like a receipt, sorry, from 1994. Is that cool or what? I don't know what printing this is, but this was on its 11th printing by 1994. So, if this book can get 11 printings in a year or so, I think it was, you need to read it. It's also why they hired Ryan Gosling for the role. Freaking fantastic actor, man. Top 3 books, and they all have a similar theme. Aqua. And here we are with Welcome to Camp Nightmare. This is, in all of the original 62, the best standalone Goosebumps book that never got a sequel. And I say that because the characters are the best characters and my favorite characters in all of Goosebumps. I think that the villain is the best villain in all of Goosebumps. And you're probably saying, well, then why isn't your number 1? Well, I'll get to that. Nothing is bad here. And I cannot emphasize that enough, man. If nothing is bad in a Goosebumps book, that is an achievement. Stein knew what he was writing, and man, did it pay off. He made Girl Who Cried Monster, this, Ghost Next Door, and Haunted Mask in a row. Talk about a perfect lineup of books. So, yeah. And for for the second last book, we've got the sequel to something that will probably make the last book pretty obvious, and that is Deep Trouble 2. This book was one of the last reads that I had of the original 62, and it was perfect in every way possible. And I say that because I love the characters. I love everyone in this book. The villains are pretty creepy, man. Alright, they're madmen. They're madmen. And they are out to kill anybody. And I also really like the concept of, spoiler alert, feeding these fish some pretty bad stuff to make them grow and grow and grow. And then look what it becomes, man. Look how creepy that is. I love that. That is fantastic. And that leads me to all the points I'm going to mention here. And that is my favorite Goosebumps book. And I'll also hold up this. Of all time. Deep Trouble. Y'all, this book was so just fantastically amazing that it genuinely shocks me to this day that something could be this fantastic. It's not only the best Goosebumps book I've ever read, but it's also the best book I have ever read. Everything works here. Everything. Billy Deep is a fantastic protagonist, along with his sister, who I actually like for the most part. Dr. Deep is fantastic as well. And the only reason this is higher than the second one, honestly, even though they're both taking place right about the same time from what I remember, is because it literally is just the second book, but better. Very slightly better. They are almost tied, and I love them. Give it a chance. Please, 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 please. Oh my god, it's not your normal Goosebumps book. But you'll read it and you'll never wish that you didn't read it. And that, my friends, is my Goosebumps original 62 ranking.